on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:36 on this busy Thursday morning, third day of July. Everyone trying to get out of town for the Independence Day holiday, but there's a lot of business being done right now in the House of Representatives after pulling an all-nighter. Congress is now still debating before the final vote here on the reconciliation tax cut package. Coming up at 7:05, we're going to check in with Paula Scanlon. She's a member of the University of Pennsylvania swim team who's getting an apology from that university. 8:05 brings us KT McFarland on the Middle East, and then 8:35 we'll speak with Chairman Jason Smith of the Ways and Means Committee. One could call him the architect of the big, beautiful bill. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Joining us now, Congressman from Maryland and chair of the very important Freedom Caucus. He's Andy Harris. Are you in the cloakroom, Congressman Harris?
No, I'm in my office waiting to get called back to the floor to pass the one big, beautiful bill, and we expect it any minute now.
Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries has been is he doing a Cory Booker impersonation? I think he's been talking for an hour now on the House floor.
Yeah, we figured he'd talk for about an hour, but, again, he'll run out of steam and he'll lose the vote.
As many doubts as I have about this bill, and there are doubts with regard to the debt and the size and scope of the government and the debt ceiling, and I know as the chairman of the Freedom Caucus you have those concerns as well. The more hysteria I hear from the Democrats, frankly, tells me that this has got to be a great bill if they hate it so much. How are you balancing? Well, first of all, give us definitively where you stand, because I know you opted out of a couple of the votes overnight. Are you a yes today?
Yeah, I'm going to vote for this because we were able to make certain that we got commitments to, again, even outside of this bill, to reduce the federal deficit. We realized that we've got about $1.5 trillion in savings in this bill, which is incredibly important. And, of course, it does produce the tax policy that the president has campaigned on.
So that tells me, great. And listen, that's how I've always looked at this as well. I think a lot of people look at this as a reconciliation package, get the tax cuts, and then we're all for reducing spending and reforming entitlements, do that in regular order. So what's the plan for that, assuming you have the votes? Do you go right into committee like as soon as possible and start doing that hard work? Because the fiscal budget is due pretty soon.
Well, I think that's the next order of business is the appropriations bill. I think that the House is going to mark up an appropriations process that's about $45 billion under last year's spending. So even despite, the small rate of inflation we have, we're actually going to mark up a budget that's actually lower for this year. And that's how we get us started on a pathway to what I call fiscal sanity.
How are the Republicans sort of messaging on this? The Democrats, you probably saw last night, they were in full selfie, camera 2 millimeters from their face, talking about how people are going to die and how the world is coming to an end. How do you reassure voters about this bill and sort of reassure them maybe that the Republicans, there will be a second bill that will address some of the spending and some of the fears about our debt and deficits?
Well, certainly what the Democrats are trying to do is create fears about, again, people dying, us pushing people off health care, the hysteria that we always hear from the Democrats. The bottom line is they wanted taxes to go up. We wanted taxes to go down. They wanted spending to go up. We want spending to go down. So, of course, they don't like this bill. But again, it's going to be there. The president is a great messenger on these topics, and he's going to continue to make sure Americans realize every family is going to benefit from this bill. Like, look, if you're not willing to work, you're able-bodied, you're not willing to work, you're probably not going to be able to get a free ride on Medicaid anymore. But again, the majority of Americans agree with that.
Yeah, in fact, help us out here. They keep saying all these people are going to be thrown off Medicaid, and it appears to me the only ones who are going to be thrown off are the ones who weren't supposed to be on there in the first place. When did we remove means testing? When was it set up that, a 30-year-old who is perfectly capable of working gets free health care from their given state funded by the federal taxpayer?
Well, that's what happened during the Biden administration. And again, the bottom line is Obamacare moved a whole lot of healthy, able-bodied people onto Medicaid. The program was never meant for that patient population, but again, Obamacare moved them on, and Biden made certain people stayed there.
Was that because of the pandemic, Congressman?
No, it was because of Obamacare. I mean, Obamacare said that we're going to move healthy, able-bodied adults, whether or not they're willing to work or not, we're going to move them onto Medicaid,
Gotcha.
A program always designed for the disabled, the pregnant, for children, the elderly. I mean, it was just a complete distortion of the Medicaid program.
An abomination, if I may. So, Congressman, do you have the votes? Is there going to be any surprise this morning? Because on some of those rules overnight, it seemed touch and go there.
Well, look, on our side, with regards to the Freedom Caucus, we're going to deliver the votes for the president. Again, there are some moderate members who listen too closely to what the Democrats say. We're about to find out. But I think it's going to pass. I think almost every Republican is going to vote for it. There may be a couple who don't. But I think it will pass.
Do you have a timeline on when you think this is going to happen this morning? What have you been told?
It's whenever Hakeem Jeffries runs out of steam.
My, good luck with that.
Oh, dear.
All right, and as far as when you say there's some moderates who are concerned or are listening to Democrats, aren't there also some conservatives who are listening to Tom Massey?
No, I think most of them realize, and again, partly because some of the negotiations and discussions that have occurred overnight, that this bill, that the good parts of this bill outweigh some of the problems that are in the bill. No bill's perfect, but I think they realize that. So I think it's going to be close, but I think the president is going to come out on top on that.
Well, listen, when Julie asked what's the messaging here, I got to tell you, if you don't pass this bill and taxes go up on the average family about $2,000, but you do pass the bill and your average family gets upwards to $4,000 or $5,000 a tax break, pretty easy to message that, I would think.
Absolutely.
All right, Congressman Andy Harris, have fun today.